And we're live.
Okay, welcome to another Thursday night of the Guitar Gear Locker. My name is Alex Books, and this is my co-host, Mr. Roger Sutherland, and this is live show 21.
21. We're now of age. We can drink.
Yes.
We can drink on the show now.
Yeah.
We're a big party. There you go. Right. So, what are we at? A big show tonight. We're gonna talk about some guitars that you found this week.
Yeah.
Talk about guitars and maybe pickups and a little music and stuff like that.
Sure.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm always kind of looking at stuff on Instagram and check, especially when I come across some smaller companies, that look, like they're really making some really quality stuff.
Right.
And I came across, I don't know how long ago it's been now. I guess it's been like maybe a couple months since this came out. So I'm a big fan of Dweezil Zappa.
Right.
And so he released a signature guitar. And I love the specs of the guitar, and it seems like it's just an amazing instrument. And I kind of looked more into the company, which is called Shabat, I believe. Right?
Yep.
Shabat
Guitars.
Yeah. And Necrosion. Joe, what's up, buddy? So yeah, I don't know. Just really intriguing guitar, and also I kind of looked more into some of the other models that this guy is making, and I don't think from what I gather, he hasn't been making guitars that long compared to a lot of other years that have been out there. I think it's been like maybe 15 years or something like that.
Right.
But I was just really kind of blown away by the guitar and watched a bunch of videos of Dweezil playing that guitar. And actually, which is really cool, I don't know if you caught this, Roger, Dweezil was playing that guitar and debuted a Van Halen cover, When Push Comes to Shove, which is a song, off Fair Warning, and one of my favorite Van Halen tracks that I believe Van Halen's never even played live ever. And it's one of the more unusual tracks, and it's really great live cover that Dweezil did with his new signature guitar.
Dweezil can play, man.
He is an amazing player, very tasteful player, and just how he pulls off all his dad stuff is not an easy thing to do.
Yep. Well, and he's into some interesting, and that's if anybody wants to go look at that video on, and I'll put it up here in a second, share the screen. Of course, we can't see the video because you can't play videos on us. But if you watch the video, like when he makes a lot of interesting, like psychedelic sounds with that guitar, like the out of phase sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's ripping with that out of phase sound too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's really I could throw them up on the screen if you want. Hold on, let me hit presentation mode. Shabat, where are you? Man, I think I have it. Yes, and I do.
Yeah, there you go.
And again, I'll have to apologize because I have to look to the right where I see it. This is Dweezil's guitar right here. Let's see, it will go there? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's actually it's kind of interesting because it's almost like a Strat / Charvel body without the pick guard, so kind of Eddie Van Halen-ish.
Yep.
And 2 Lawler singles and a Hummer.
And it's got your bridge on there too.
Yeah, that is so that's a winner there. I do like the way all that's left open with the wiring and everything, and I like that right there too. I wish more companies would do that, the truss rod adjustment right there. But as we move down, I wonder if it'll let me click in on some of these. Yeah, it does. Hey, it's kind of functioning a little better this week. I like that.
Hmm.
It's probably I say it's functioning. I'm probably figuring it out a little
Function.
bit more. There you
Yeah.
go. Right there. I tell you, man, I just don't I've said this a lot. I don't know why more like, I don't know why Fender doesn't go in a partnership with them and put that bridge on their Strats. I know some
Yeah.
people still want the vintage Strat on their guitars, but, I mean, especially for people that use a whammy bar, and you've seen these, you can be really aggressive with these Vega trims.
Yeah.
So and he mentions that in the video too. When they're
Hmm.
that's the interesting thing about if nobody's ever seen a Vega before, this is kind of the interesting thing is you have 2 springs. They, depending on which gauge string you use, are the springs that are provided, you use those. And, the block's a little bit smaller in these, and, it's actually kind of an odd shape too, so you can use the whammy bar forward and backwards. It allows you to go
Hmm.
backwards too on a Strat. So, and you can see how thin it is, kinda almost in the shape of a like a triangle. Yeah,
And you
but
don't have to use the locking nut like a Floyd too. I believe it stays in tune a little bit better,
right.
compared to your normal average Fender,
Oh,
stock
yeah.
trim.
Yeah, you can do some aggressive whammying with this. But yeah, so
Hmm.
this, I was just kinda listening to Dweezil Zappa talk, and, we mentioned it has a Vega trim, Lala pickups, the truss rod where it's, located, I kinda like. So then
Hmm.
it simply has a, what is it, a five-way switch and then a push-pull volume, and
Yeah.
the push-pull is in phase and out of phase. So, kinda
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
He
yeah.
yeah, he made some, interesting sounds with that thing. That's where damn it, Roger. Okay, now I'm not figuring it out. I got myself turned around. It's hard looking at 2 screens, man, when you don't have talent with this stuff. Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
nice. It's, this guy, and you mentioned that I don't know how long, this builder has been in business, but, I don't know that that's always a bad thing that, he's fairly new because new people kinda stay up on current trends and past trends, you know? So,
Hmm.
I think that's not a bad thing always.
Yeah. It
Definitely
looks like
no
a
bad.
really sharp, well-made instrument and
Yeah,
diverse, really diverse. Like you said,
yeah.
you can get a lot of
Yeah,
sounds out.
he has a lot of stuff out here too. There you go, Telly body with, a
Is that a
single
P90?
unit. Yeah, single
Is that
P90. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, yeah, the 2 pickups or 2 humbuckers and a, telly body.
Mhm.
Some interesting stuff. Not a big fan. I don't know why I don't like those, but I don't. I can't even tell you why.
Oh, with the musical, note on there for the hollow
Yeah,
body?
the F-hole, not a big fan, but you know what I
Yeah.
do like is I don't know why I'm getting into these guitars more now, but I like that, man. That's
Yeah,
nice.
that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a cool looking guitar, black headstock and all that.
And I like green guitars too, and I kinda like that aged green look too on, it's like a marine green, it looks,
Yeah.
on those.
Well,
Um,
and he definitely it looks like, he's kinda well, he's done the relicking on maybe almost all of these, if not all. But he's kinda done it
mhm.
tastefully. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
still not I mean, I don't get whatever, to each his own, but it looks good. It's
yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and he
yeah,
does basses too.
yeah, I saw
Sorry,
that.
everybody has to look at the side of my head, but, um, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he looks like a good solid guitar builder, and he has, we can hit on the artist. There's some, I think it will go to that, maybe.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, it
guess
will.
not.
There we go.
Yeah. Now the first guy, I saw some videos of him playing
Yeah,
really good player actually, and,
yeah,
his guitars, he had some great tones coming out of that thing.
right.
Uh, familiar with some of the other guys except for Dweezil.
Yeah, Dweezil, and I know down at the bottom, Tim Pierce.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Tim
Oh,
Pierce.
okay.
Yeah, but he has a lot of guitars and he does
Yeah.
a lot of session work. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the owner right there to the left. Yeah,
Mhm.
so good guitar. That was a good eye for you. I didn't know much about them. I
I didn't
should
know
have.
anything about him until I saw Dweezil,
Yeah,
follow him and I saw him premiere his signature
yeah,
guitar, and I was just like, wow. And somebody like him or Tim Pierce, I mean, these guys
yeah.
are they know guitars, so
Right, right.
I would, you know,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you figure, the apple didn't fall far. Oh, gee.
yeah. I think I got lost here, lost the signal. Oh, I think we lost Roger. Let's see if he comes back. Guess give us a second here.
Hello?
Oh, there he is.
Did I disappear?
Yeah, you disappeared on us.
Oh my god. I was talking and everything just went away. Alright, talk for a second while I get everything
Yeah, yeah.
resituated here. I
But
don't know
yeah,
what
so
happened. I had maybe a little glitch or something. Everything went blank.
yeah. I actually lost power here. Not power, but things went down the internet about an hour
Oh,
ago. So I rebooted
oh,
everything just in case. So here in Virginia, we had some storms today. So that may be maybe the
yeah.
reason.
Yeah, well, and now I don't know if I don't know if we lost it stayed connected, right? I just
Yeah,
disappeared? Oh, okay. Well, I mean, we just tested something else out. As long as the show's going, I can drop in and
yeah,
drop
yeah.
out. So every once in a while, I might just leave you hanging and just dip out. Alright. So
But yeah,
I
Shabat guitars looks like
Shabat
really cool
guitars.
stuff. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a winner. Alright, so our next is, and I don't I'll let you lead in on this one. James Tyler guitars.
yeah,
Um,
so James Tyler has been a uh, luthier, I believe, since the 1970s, and he, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. I believe he passed away maybe a year ago or something like that. But
uh-huh,
so he's been around, and I think he's worked for a bunch of big companies, and eventually he started his own company. And I've been, they've been on my radar for a while, and I've never played one, but I hear they're some of the best super strats made, according to a lot
uh-huh,
of people.
right.
The only thing that I find bizarre is the headstock, which everybody can't
I'm
complain
getting
about it.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
is
but I
that
got a theory about that headstock too, is it's a big headstock,
yeah,
so it may add to the tone of the guitar.
yeah,
So yeah, here we go, James Tyler.
yep.
Uh,
Alright, now I'm over here.
mhm.
Yeah, so, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just I don't know if any of our audience that are out there have had any experience with them, and I'm curious to see in the comments if anybody wants to share any experience that they've had playing with one, or if you own one. But I've been really curious about them for years. Just
Yeah,
never had the opportunity to play one of these guitars.
there
Um,
was one so you sent me a link today, and I don't know that one's not on here. Do you see it?
I don't think so. That might have been some custom shop. I don't know.
Phew.
Uh, or maybe that was the Elite. I think that's the Elite. It's
Oh, is
just a
that the
different.
Elite? Okay, let's see if we can pull that,
Yeah.
but I don't see it.
If you go down, it's the first one, I believe.
Oh, wait a minute. Really?
There.
Right
Yep.
here?
Yep. Yeah. So I guess you can pick your own color or finish on these guitars.
Yeah, that's not. All
No.
right, I'm looking for the one with the 15,000 switches on
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
it.
That may have been some custom shop then.
It could have been. Man, that thing had, was it?
Now those I don't know if I've seen one of those. Huh? Those are interesting.
This so this is similar. Here, so I watched the video that you had sent me earlier, and it so he was going over one of his guitars, and I think, what song did he say that somebody played on it? Some Michael Jackson song, right?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
I forget which one it was,
Yeah.
but he was talking about some specific sound that they were looking for, and they were playing maybe out of phase on the center, or the middle pickup. But here's some of my takeaways, in listening to him. So the guitar, and it's not this one. This is the closest I can see on here right now. This was on a video on YouTube. You can look it up. So that particular guitar had a mid boost on it, which he called more of a low boost, like a low gain boost. But for
Mhm.
lack of better terms, he called it a mid boost, he said. So it had that, and then it had, let me pull up the picture so I can
Like a preamp,
point
I
at it.
guess.
All right, so he had, so there's two ways that you can do the noiseless pickups. Usually a noiseless is like, if it's a single coil, it's kind of like two pickups, but they're stacked, and one's reverse wound and all that. Without getting into all that stuff. So if you look right here, he has a single coil, but he actually has a picture of the underneath of the pick guard, and there's another coil right here, another single coil there, and another single coil there, and he referred to them as a canceling coil without a magnet on it, and he uses it in a way that he can do noise canceling, he can do in phase and out of phase on a single coil without it being stacked. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that thing, just looking at some of the stuff that he was talking about. So he has several positions on it. He split the humbucker at one point. Then there was one button that you can push. I think it's at the top right there. There was another one down here. That's why this one looks different. But I think it's that button right there. You could push that, and then you would have that one and that one come on alone. Or if you had it in the other three positions, then you could have all three pickups on. But he was kind of looking for a Telecaster sound by having these
Right.
two on, with that button. But the whole time he was explaining it, and it was a lot of information, I was just sitting here going like, "That's the most over-engineered guitar I think I've ever seen."
Yeah, yeah. I don't know all the ins and outs of the electronics, but that's one of the pluses I've heard from a lot of people that reviewed these guitars. They said the electronics are just superb,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I saw a shoot. It was like a shootout that this guy, British guy, I watch him sometimes, and he did. I believe it was an Elite
Uh-huh,
series um, guitar versus a custom shop Fender.
uh-huh.
And at the end of the video, he was like, both great guitars, but the James Tyler blows the Fender away, especially the tone.
Oh, yeah.
And he's, you know, he believes it's because of the electronics in the guitar.
Right.
Um, so I believe, I don't know if this is correct, that all these guitars um, you have to use a battery, I guess, because of the electronics that they use.
Oh yeah, I would assume the boost, right?
So I
Yeah,
assume like the gain is like the gain boost you were saying is like a preamp, right? Something like that,
yeah.
right?
Well, excuse me. Yeah. So it's a typical. Well, you see, mid boosts in a lot of guitars, like even way back on that Charvel Model 6 that I talk about a lot, that has a mid boost on it. But he
Mhm.
said that this isn't quite a mid boost, because it's pretty low powered. So he called it a low boost, but he said he literally said, like, for lack of better terms, we'll just call it a mid boost. But
Mhm.
he had that. There was a lot of bells and whistles, man. I tell you, it would probably it would take you a while to sit down and figure out all the configurations he had in there. And then
Yeah.
especially underneath with it was almost like I said, it was almost like having another pickup guard, but it didn't look like a pickup, and it was
Mhm.
only beneath the pick guard. So
Hmm.
it was interesting. It's a lot of engineering. He did a lot on it, that's for sure. I just wish I could. I don't think it would be on the classic, but it was this type of guitar, you know. It
Mhm.
was.
You know, the only experience I've had anything, I guess,
That's rough.
similar to that is actually a guitar I have behind me, or one of the guitars over here, which is a uh, ESP Alexi Leho model that I
Yeah.
own.
Yep.
And so the guitar originally it's just, it's just one humbucker guitar.
Right.
So there's one volume, obviously, and a two-way toggle switch. So the guitar was originally equipped with an EMG, a passive EMG.
Right.
Uh, so you could switch on and off, and it had, from what I understand, it's not even really a gain boost, and I'm really don't not sure what the technology behind it is.
Right.
But I gotta say that now I eventually switched to Fishman because that's what I use. But
Yeah.
when you switch that on for that EMG HZ, I guess that was like his signature
Yeah.
pickup too. Like,
Right.
it was like one of the best sounding EMGs I've ever heard.
Right.
But I still have it,
Right.
and but the EMG pickup. So I'm
I
actually
just
curious.
don't know that. I don't know, man. It you know how it goes. It's like to each his own, right? And everybody likes their things with guitars. But I'm
Mhm.
sitting here thinking, like, it, does somebody really have a desire or a need for? I know it's a guitar. We don't have a need for anything. We want one.
But like
Um,
all those
but
gadgets,
yeah,
like the
well,
old
I mean,
Ritz.
out of phase on a single coil, like splitting, and out of phase, in phase on single coils, maybe there's something to it.
Well, like
Um,
the old BC Riches from the
yeah,
70s and early 80s. You remember, like, like you'd have a BC Rich bitch, and there would just be like a zillion things on there, and like,
yeah,
and it's even funny because Slash still plays. He loves the bitch,
uh-huh,
and he had a custom shop made some years back. I saw a
yeah,
really beautiful green BC Rich bitch.
right,
And one of the questions was, "Do you know, like, what does all this do?" He goes, "I have no idea. I just unhooked it. I don't. I never know when any of that stuff does."
right, right.
They would have like, those BC Riches would have like 10 switches on
Yeah,
there, and
yeah. Well,
you know,
and there's some. I think one of the topics that when we were talking the other night, you were saying something about, like, modifications. What's a cool modification, or some of the modifications you can do? This guy has a lot of them in it. Um, the one that he doesn't have, that I'm surprised, and I thought, as he was going over all of the mods to this and all the switches, I thought for sure one would be a blower switch. Like, when he was talking about that little switch, I thought it was gonna be a blower switch where, you flip a toggle usually, and then you're going pick up directly out the output jack. But it
mhm,
didn't have that. It literally had everything else. But
yeah,
like I said, I don't see it on one of these here. It doesn't seem to be on his. And I Man, I tell you what, it made your brain hurt listening to all of those things. They look like nice guitars. I'm like you, I'm not a big fan of the headstock,
Yeah.
but
I mean, I guess if you're a studio musician, maybe that kind of thing will
right,
come in handy.
right,
Having all those different configurations. I
yeah,
mean, it's like having a Fishman pickup, which is not what's going on there, but you
right.
have the different voicing or whatnot.
Well, you figure with that guitar, you could probably get Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, then you could get Van Halen-ish on the humbucker, and then you could probably even get Brian May with the out of
Yeah,
phase sounds in there.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, if you were playing, if you had to have all those sounds in a studio,
yeah.
that's a lot. There's a lot going on.
And I think like Brian May's guitar, I think the way he made that guitar with his dad,
Yeah,
actually, he made it with his dad, um, it looks like 3 single coils, but he said it's there's some kind of configuration where you put them 2 together where it humbucks,
right,
or
right.
something.
Well, he has kind of like an out of phase sound. So
Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
that's what I was saying. Like when you throw these on this guitar out of phase, and while he was playing it, you kind of got that out of phase sound. And man, I forget what song that was. There's a popular song. I think it was Michael Jackson, right? Like one of those, kind of hard sounds that they had in one of his songs, and that they said it's a very distinct sound. And the guy in the video never played it, so
mhm.
I don't think he even played the guitar. He just played a couple clips, but he said as soon as you did it, it was a very distinct sound that you could pick out and be like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, that's it."
yeah.
So, yeah, so that's kind of interesting. And you know what? All of these,
But
the
the headstock is just like, man,
yeah,
you know?
and I get it, man. It's like when you're so I built that acoustic, and like one of the first meetings I had with the luthier I was working with was like, all right, well, what do you want your headstock to look like? And when you're building a guitar, and I know you know this story, but I'll tell it again, just because you probably enjoyed it so much the first time. But you start looking around, and it's like, I mean, at first I was just like, well, what the? I don't really care about the headstock. I'll remind me to talk about that Jackson headstock, but because people care about headstocks, we found out, but in a good way, in a fun way. But you look around and it's like, God, it's hard to be original with a headstock because a lot
Sure.
have already been done. So I
Yeah,
was just gonna do like the traditional Martin. It was literally gonna be like a rectangle up there with my tuning pegs in it. But then
mhm.
I decided to go with something that could be passed down to my daughter. It's kind of in the shape of a subtle M. I mean, if you look at it, you can see it. If you didn't know it, you would just think it was a rectangle. But it's a subtle M for the first letter of the name or her name. So, but it's hard, and I get it with these guys. It's hard. It's probably hard not to make an ugly headstock when we're so used to what we're looking at with Telecasters, Stratocasters, ESPs, and BC Riches and all that kind of stuff. It's hard to be original and have it look good.
Sure.
And he didn't do it, but I guarantee you, like, I mean, no one with these guys, and even Jeremy's buddies, Haunt Guitars, God, he makes some nice guitars. Like, just
Yeah.
knowing the amount of time I put in, like that acoustic, working with that luthier, that was 14 months. Working on it a couple hours. We didn't work on it every single day, but there's a lot of work that goes into these handmade guitars. So my hat's off to them, man. I mean,
Mhm.
headstock, I mean, tough. It's tough to be original and look cool. Um,
Yeah.
so speaking of, let me backtrack a little bit because I I took maybe a little bit of heat about the Jackson discussion last week, and and so the guy was dead on the money because I am out of my mind. So he figured that out. He said, "You're out of your mind." So guilty. I'm out of my mind. I proved that a long time ago. You're not the person told me that. But anyways, he seemed like a really cool dude. But he said, you're kind of out of your mind because the Jackson headstock reverse set. I get it. Yeah, I wasn't talking about those. I was talking about the 3x3, the one that I had. And yeah, definitely. I went back and looked on Reverb and on Facebook Marketplace, and it seems like a thing that people either intentionally don't put the headstock in it, or they'll cut half of it off, like it'll be conspicuously up there behind the picture. But and I ended up trading mine because I don't really care about headstocks on a guitar. I was looking for other things in that guitar. And the person I traded up with a Solar this past week, and he didn't care about the headstock either. But they are, and I didn't know that. I said it last week. I didn't know it until somebody pointed it out. Like did they call it is it the Smurf? A Smurf headstock? Somebody had a nickname for it in here.
Is that
when
what
they
it
came
is?
in, they were like, "Oh, it's the one that looks like a Smurf." They call it the Smurf headstock or the something headstock. I don't know. But I found out it was a thing because it was hard to sell. So, but yeah, it's a 3x3. It's not the traditional Jackson. I'm a big fan of those and the reverse.
And I've always loved the Jackson, headstock. It's known for. But yeah, I can see where somebody is not familiar with that guitar, maybe unaware of that headstock, because they just assume, that pointy headstock that Jackson is known for. And back in the day, that was radical, when that, the Rhodes that came out, and seeing that headstock was like, wow, look at that thing,
Yeah. And the new ones, I think once you're used to, I don't know what look they're going for, but like I said, man, it's hard to be original at this point.
Yeah.
No, I don't know why they just don't. I don't know why they just don't keep their damn headstocks the same. I don't know why they felt the need, Jackson. I don't know why they felt the need to change it up on some of these newer guitars, but they did. So, but it's gone. And the new owner, I'm sure, is enjoying it. It's a nice guitar. But I really couldn't get into the multi-scale, kind of the fan fret thing. I couldn't get used to it. I'm sure it's something if you played it a lot. The thing is, it had really, really nice low action on it. So, but good guitar, had Fishmans in it, but you know how it is. If they're not players, they leave.
And how about the guitar you traded it for? So what do you got?
I like it. It's a maybe I'll put a picture on here next week or something. Now that we could put pictures up, it's a Solar guitar, 6-string, and it has their Solar Duncans, I think they're called, pickups in it. So not active pickups. I may switch those over later, but it plays good. I like it. So it's a typical new guitar. It has when they first come in, I always like to do a little rounding on the edge of the fretboard. So I did that, and but yeah, it's hot pink, but black splatter all over it. So it's hot pink, black splatter. Looks cool. Plays good. So I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah. Cool. Winner. I hope he's happy with his. If he watches this, I hope you're happy with your white guitar. And the headstock isn't that bad. Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I didn't look at the headstock much while I was playing it.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's one of those things, like if that person, I forget who it was, but if he didn't point it out, I wouldn't even have known it. Maybe it's not a thing. Maybe it's just a thing between that conversation they're having.
I think that headstock is the same one. Like for instance, Marty Friedman has a signature Jackson, and it's a take on a Les Paul.
Yeah,
but I found the guitar. I believe the guitar probably plays and sounds amazing, but it's that. I'm pretty sure it's that same headstock, and even they try to have their take on the ESP Eclipse a little bit with the pointy, horn on the side, but I just find the guitar super ugly too. So I'm pretty sure it's the same headstock.
Well, wait a minute. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can share. Well, that's what I did. I told him because I figured that it was just getting a little misunderstood. Um, so I said, just to clarify it, that I wasn't talking about the other one. I was talking about, and I cut and pasted it in there. And I'm sure he looked at it and he was like, "Woof, that is rough."
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was pretty funny. I got a kick out of it actually. Let me share it up. Uh, Here we
But
go.
yeah, I mean, it's all preference, you know. So
Ta-da! There it
yeah,
is.
yeah, I think that's the same as the Marty Friedman as well.
Yeah, that's the guy. But you know what? It's like I said, I wasn't really playing the headstock. Rest of the guitar, there's the fan fret. That was what kept throwing me off a little bit, I think. I don't know why. But yeah, there's a cool guitar, but I mean, sometimes cool guitars need to move on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
As the story goes. All right, so what do we have next? What do you have before I start getting into the list? Didn't you want to talk? What did you want to talk about? You had some things.
Well, for any of our viewers and listeners, my question would be, what would be your if you were get something custom shop made, and what would be your ideal guitar shape, and what would the specs be on the guitar? And I have two body shapes and
Okay.
specs that I love, and will probably be surprising to a lot of people, because most people uh, just like, oh, he's a V guy,
Yeah.
and I am. I love the flying V, but for me, and the same question would be to you too, Roger. It would actually be a ESP Horizon body, and or an ESP Maverick, which is my oldest ESP, and it both of those body shapes are just super comfortable to me. And I find that the Horizon, just the way it's designed, with the combination of like a mahogany body and the maple top,
Mhm.
like a Les Paul, they just sound so damn good.
Right.
And it would be a humbucker single coil configuration,
Yeah.
and I would go for either a neck through or uh, a oh my geez, a what is that? Like a Les Paul is it's not a neck through body, a set in neck.
Oh,
So
so nice. Yeah.
yeah, a set neck, and I would go with a ebony board, and
Ebony?
24. Yep, ebony board. I love
Okay.
ebony. I
Okay.
love the sound of it, love the feel of it. And for the Maverick, I would stick with the maple, a maple bolt-on neck with an alder body, and a roasted maple neck, 24 frets. And same thing,
Right.
configuration, humbucker single coil. With both guitars could either be a Floyd or say a hip shop bridge, you
Uh-huh.
know. Um, and yeah, that would pretty much be my guitar of choice.
A hip shot bridge. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of electronics?
Well, I would go with Fishman's.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it would, you know, it could be a modern humbucker, or it could be, I'm still a big fan of the classics, and also the what's his name from Will Adler,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
which I like, and
Yeah,
I love
those
the
are
sound of Fishman
those are
single
good.
coils.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be mine. So
Okay.
how about you?
Man, one, I mean, even though I talk a lot of smack on Gibson, one is gonna have to be sorta Les Paul-ish. So,
Hmm.
and I think I would go Gibson, um, and I would do rosewood, and I would go heavy. I don't know why, but I like the heavier Gibsons.
Hmm.
Rosewood, but it would have to be, and nobody else has seen it, you have, but the rosewood, like, that's on my R0, like, really nice Brazilian rosewood.
Hmm.
Um, And I would upgrade the bridge on it to put a few tone brass bridge on it.
Oh, that too. That's very important.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would do that, just because they're heavier. The older ones were heavier too.
Hmm.
Um, electronics, I would just, that would be my classic, right? So that would be, you said 2, right?
Yeah.
Right, so I would go that way, and then the other one, so this is a perfect guitar, it may be out there, I don't know, but so I like the makeup of yours with the hum single,
Hmm.
um, on a Charvel Model 6 frame and headstock with a Floyd Rose on it. And
Yeah.
then in the electronics, um, that already, I don't know if I would do it with the mid boost like it comes on that, because it comes with the mid boost and then 3 toggles. I think I would reconfigure it, and I would probably do a blower switch just to be a little funky on it.
Yeah.
Just for
Oh,
the
and the other thing for me would be volume, tone. I used
Yeah,
to be just a volume guy, but over time, I find that, especially with certain things, different tones and stuff like that, it's
right.
definitely good to have the tone knob.
Yeah,
And for years, especially playing metal, you're just like, who uses a tone knob, or who
right,
uses their volume?
right,
Um, but over time, I found that a necessary thing to have. I
right,
think,
right.
um, but I could still do without it too, with
Mhm.
just one.
Now, do you get into the in phase, out of phase kinda stuff?
Yeah, I'm into that.
Do you?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, I can dig
I
it.
don't
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. I'm not a big fan.
yeah.
I've had a well, and I've wired some like that. I've I've accidentally wired some like that, making pickups. I've gotten them out of phase a couple times, and that nasally sound that you get, I don't know, I mean, I like it when Brian May plays with that sound, or Dweezil Zappa, I don't like it for me,
Yeah,
but yeah, and maybe because, when I get that sound, I usually did it by accident, and it's a pain in the ass.
but it it wouldn't be on my something that I would say like, oh, I need that on the
Yeah,
guitar. I'm not opposed to it, but
right.
it's not a necessity for me. You know.
Mhm. Well, and I'll have to look this up for a show one time, but, a friend just sent me a video of an upgrade that somebody did on a Strat with the single
Mhm.
coil, and you know what? I've always said, like, especially on well, there's some single coils where the bridge sounds pretty good, like that one that we talked about, that Mexican '92, Mexican Strat I had in here, the bridge sounded pretty good on it in single coil.
That was a great guitar. That was a
Yeah, yeah,
really
but
killer shot.
by and large, they get so thin when you get back there, but there's a capacitor that a guy did a video on, and somebody sent it to me, and it does beef that up a little bit back there. I may try that on a guitar. That may be something that may be a project I do on my black Strat, along with the
Yeah.
kill switch. The demo guitar literally has everything but curb feelers on it. No, I
Mhm.
do have a treble bleed on that. I like the treble bleed on it, in the
Mhm.
master tone. Those are good. Yeah, and I would do that too, like, on a Strat, and I know somebody that's selling a Music Man, Strat style right now, and it is one tone, one volume, that's it. Nothing to get
Mhm.
in the way of your hand and your strumming back there. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I did that to my own Strat, not the custom shop, but the other one. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so those are good upgrades.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. The other thing that I had was like this has kind of been in the news the last couple of days. The Fender Custom Vintage. Let me hit. When this thing disconnected, it kind of jockeyed around my order here. I think it kind of jacked up people watching it too. Um, It did. It messed up my standby. Let me copy this over again. Yeah, so I get these set up before the show so I can just kind of click through them, and whatever that was that happened kind of blew them all out. So this is something that just kind of came out this week. I saw a lot of people talking about it. The Gibson Certified Vintage and the Epiphones.
Mm-hmm.
And let me move this over so I can see both. Oh my God, this is killing me tonight. I'm making a mess of this. All right, we good? All right, this is the prototype series from like they're like 80s prototypes.
I do. Well, I remember the one on the last two on the right. Obviously, those body shapes, and I do remember when they came out with the one that has the kind of similar Jackson headstock. I remember when those premiered in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because that's when they were trying to compete, obviously, with all the shredder Strat guitars.
Right. And some of these, so they've been around since then, and now they're just kind of, I guess they kind of blow them out every once in a while. And some are, I mean, from 1987, list $5,400. And like you said, they came out with the real deal. But there were differences. Like some of the like they had a different bridge on one. Some of these they had to do things to them. I guess they've been sitting around so long. Like you can see in the notes that some had to have pickups rewound and things like that.
Yeah.
So and then there was one. Oh, here you go. So this, man, I gotta tell you. So there's I like Black Beauties from Gibson.
Me too. Me too.
So this one here, you would love to have this guitar, right?
Yeah, I would actually. Yeah.
Okay, you can. It's for sale
for $85,000. So
there you go. The 55. Yeah, man, isn't that thing gorgeous?
Yeah. I think I've seen that. It's probably the same guitar a few years back. Guy, they had it at the Chicago Music Exchange. I may have been the same one. I saw a guy playing that. It sounded amazing. And those pickups too, they're not P90s. There's something else, right?
Oh, they look like P90s. Yeah, those are P90s, right?
They are P90s. Let me see.
They look like it. I am. Oh, electronics. Maybe we should go there. Yeah, P90s.
Oh, they are P90s. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other one that I wanted to talk about. I'll save that for next week. The humbucker P90s. I saw a new. Somebody's making a new set of those, and kind of torn on humbucker size P90s. But, man, I'm kind of traditional. I hate when people like there's a way things should be done in my mind. Now so one of these is the Q series. I didn't know this, but allegedly the Q series was made to kind of lure Eddie Van Halen into Gibson. So, and I'll have to go back to that so I can see which.
Well, that guitar right there,
that's right here,
the one that looks like. Oh, okay.
That's it right there.
Yeah. That the body shape. It looks like. Do you remember Ibanez? It would have been in the early 80s. They kind of had these Strat shaped guitars, and it kind of very similar to that. I can't. My friend Chris Chris Olson is his name. I was first in a band with playing music with. He had one of those Ibanez's, and maybe in the comments we'll put it in there what the name of that model is, but very similar body shape. Now the guitar to the right of that guitar, what looks like an Explorer, My
Uh,
friend Sharon actually owns like 4 of them. That's what she plays, and they're super rare.
right here?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, double creams too.
yeah. She's got like 4 of those guitars actually.
Woo! You
Um,
can have one. It's for sale. Oh, no, it's sold out.
yeah.
Somebody
Oh,
bought
yeah,
it.
yeah. She's
Somebody
probably not good. I think she got, when nobody wanted those guitars, she got them at a good price.
Yeah. Good grief.
Yeah, she owns like I think 3 or 4
Yeah,
of
and
those guitars.
this one doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the headstock though, it's just too.
Pointy. That's a little too pointy.
It's pointy, but it's
Yeah,
just
it's a
too.
hockey stick almost.
Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. When
Yeah,
Gibson tries to make, like the 80s style shred guitar, it's just,
yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't never.
I think it's one of those things, like, sometimes when you're on to something, like, just do it and do it well, right? Instead
Yeah.
of always, like, trying to expand,
Hmm.
just do what is it? Make the best Chick-fil-A sandwich you can make, right?
Yeah.
It's their thing, make Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Oh, let's see. Other thing was, I mentioned it to you earlier. I saw, this is just me kind of scanning over stuff during the week. Billy Idol at 69 is releasing a new album for the first time since 2014.
Good for
And
him.
you had some people that we were talking about it earlier. Who else was releasing?
Oh, well, so one guy, his name is Joe Holmes, and he's a guitar player. He played with Ozzy for
Yeah.
5 or 6 years, and I think a lot of people are even unaware of him. And
Right.
I went to see him play with Ozzy in the '90s when Black Sabbath did the reunion, and it was
Right.
Ozfest. So
Yeah.
it was Ozzy playing first, and then Sabbath was a headliner.
Right.
So I believe it was Joe Holmes on guitar. It may even be, I think it was Robert Trujillo playing bass too.
Right.
And I tell you, I was just blown away by this guy. And this guy actually, his teacher was Randy Rhoads back in 1979. Randy Rhoads taught him how to play guitar,
Yeah.
gave him lessons. So I just fell in love with his playing. I thought he was just such a super tasteful player, and
Mhm.
it just baffles me how under the radar this guy is. And so recently, I didn't realize that he had put out a solo record maybe 10 years back, something
Uh-huh.
like that. And man, it's so damn good. And
Yeah.
recently, he just dropped 2 new singles. He's got a new solo record. He's got
Right.
actually Robert Trujillo playing bass and
Yeah.
Mike Gordon from Faith No More on drums, who
Yeah.
was the drummer for Ozzy at that
Uh-huh.
time too. And man, it's super good. I mean, it is really, really great songwriting, super killer, tasteful guitar playing.
Right.
Uh, and yeah, I'm just really into it.
Mhm.
Like, first of all, that solo record that I had no idea that he had put out.
Right.
And also these 2 new singles are just super good.
Right.
So yeah, I mean everything, his playing, his songwriting, his riffs, his tone, and
Right.
he predominantly plays like 70s strats with the Fender headstock, super
Yeah.
strat with a Floyd,
Uh-huh.
Charvels
Yeah.
and stuff. And man, he's just got some just incredible guitar tones, I think.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, it's just, I think he's super unappreciated and,
Yeah.
and just such a great guitar player. And I
Mhm.
just, it's just ridiculous that he's just so under the radar and
Right.
people should know more about his music, I think.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm really, really into it. And then the other thing is because there's not too much music that I hear nowadays that I'm just like, "Oh, this is, that I'm really into."
Yeah.
And the other thing is one of my favorite thrash metal bands from Canada, Sacrifice,
Right.
and they were broken up for many years. They did a reunion record maybe about 15 years ago. I thought was really good. I thought that was good. But they recently just put out a new record called Volume 6, and man,
Uh-huh.
it's just, I think, from beginning to end, it's just such a
Right.
killer record.
Right.
Great guitar playing, obviously, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just really really good, and it's kind of like it's kind of got elements of their first record, Torment and Fire, with
Hmm.
progressive stuff like their second album,
Yeah.
which is they're probably most well known for Forward to Determination.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Speaking of my friend Chris, who I first started playing music with, Chris Olson,
Hmm.
I hit him up because me and him were just when we actually even did Sacrifice covers back then,
Right.
and so I have to like hit him up and tell him like, man, you got to check this out. Like, he'll really be into it.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so those are two things that some new music that I'm really
Hmm.
really digging. So,
Right.
and like I said, the Joe Holmes thing, I just, man, he just, I don't know, man. He needs to be out there,
Yeah.
and it's funny, you got two big players. Robert Trujillo is playing the bass on his new album.
Yeah.
Mike Victor Morris, an
Right.
incredible drummer.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it's just, and the vocalist, I can't think of his name, but great singer as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really, really just well done.
Right. Right.
I'm gonna have to send you the links after this
Yeah. Yeah.
show.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, so anybody interested in Sacrifice, old school metal guys like me, from the underground that are into Sacrifice, new Sacrifice is killer, and yeah, and any guitar nerds like me and Roger that like
Yeah.
killer guitar players, check out the new Joe Holmes stuff. Really,
Yeah.
really killer hard rock metal,
Right.
stuff. Really killer. Great stuff.
Yeah. I'll have to put their link in the description when I do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we've got the witnessed you playing the Strat a few times this week in the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks.
Yeah. I've been digging it.
Yeah.
And just, that the single coils, not just, I always love the single coil in the neck.
Yeah.
That's always one of my favorite sounds as far
Yeah.
as, especially solos and maybe clean
Uh-huh.
sounds. But I tell you, I'm really digging the sound of the bridge single coil,
Uh-huh.
and it's something about that kind of twangy, you know, high end, you know, sound that it
Right.
gives I don't know. I'm just getting more
Now,
into it because I've been a humbucker guy,
are
and
you playing it through the blue channel on your EVH?
I am. It
See, now
sounds
that could probably change things.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're playing it on on the blue channel, it could probably beef that thing up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, and it's funny because me and Roger were jamming last night you know, through remotely actually, and I believe I woke up the neighbors because my daughter must have touched the knobs on my amp. So there's nothing more screechy than a super loud EVH with a single coil noisy pickup blaring. So, and my wife actually heard it last night. She was like, "I heard some noises," and she never hears me because where my studio, whatever guitar room is located
Yeah,
in the house, she can't hear. She's on the
yeah,
other side. And so last night she was just like, "What was that?" I was like, "Well, that was Freya actually, because she must
right.
have touched the knobs and
Yeah.
turned it up." So
I didn't so I heard you say that last night. I didn't realize what you were talking about, and I heard the noise. But
yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of funny because we're both talking about like, "Oh, nobody will hear us." And, I got the same thing today. I was like, "You were kinda loud last night," but I think she was talking about while I was waiting for you to get on, I was a little louder. But I also wasn't playing through the EVH, my new EVH, which I love.
yeah,
I was just playing through one of the FR speakers on the Fractal on a stealth 5150 stealth setting, and you know the reason. So I couldn't play through my amp because I have a broken foot and I have an electronic thing on that feeds it back through my amp and sounds like the Morse code coming through my amp. So I was using that, and she still heard it. So Ian, well, we didn't tell. So we were playing until 12:30.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that, and our wives were trying to wake up this morning. So, yes, I did get a, "Well, you were a little loud last night, but, we'll figure it out." We had fun, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
alright, so I told you so I was wondering if you or anybody else has seen this guitar. You know I have to have some weird shit sometimes. I'm the guy with the weird stuff. And I do it on purpose just to see your reaction. And it's a God. Man, this ticks me off. Stand by. Yeah, man, whatever that hiccup was, it blew out every single one of my Lynx. I thought this was up there earlier. And you know what? I get on this thing, as you know, about an hour before we go live to get, well, even earlier than that to get everything set up, but officially an hour before, and had everything set up nicely so I didn't have to make people wait. All right, here we go. So the Enya, so and I did this especially for you because I know that you have to, when you all go out on the road, you have to, you know, carry your amps and the big cases and the guitars. I know this isn't a V. I don't want to subscribe, definitely. So I figured, I mean, you could take one of these. It's the Nova Ghost Sonic Black. And it has an integrated wireless speaker, so you won't need your amp anymore. And it has all the effects in it. It tells that when you, like, it has a reverb in it. You know, and all joking aside, so there's another version of this. It's kind of acousticy when you can see the speaker down there. And there was a professional guitar player, like a virtuoso kind of guy playing it, and he was talking about how good it was. He said it felt really good. And that one was only like $200, but yeah, I just thought it was kind of, you know, it's one of the things that popped up in my feed this week, and I was like, why would anybody want that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious how it sounds. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
it didn't.
$39, you know, and it has
So
all that.
you can also run it through an amp, and you know, here I guess, you know, we always talk about inspiration. If you were just trying to, like, if somebody was trying to get involved to see if they liked it, you know, if you get an electric guitar, you usually have to get electric, then you have to get an amp. And you know, you're into it for some money at that point. So this right here, you can plug it into an amp, or it has a little speaker and it has the effects in it. No, just a little,
probably a cool thing for a beginner. Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you're a kid and you don't have to worry about getting the amp and some pedals. You got everything you need.
Yeah, and then there was a leak this week on, and I'm just gonna cut and paste it rather than looking for it again. On from Epiphone, and I'm sure some people have seen it. And there's a couple ads on it, so we'll just have to. I'm showing somebody else. I mean, it's hard to find because they're not really advertising it yet, but I'm sure they will here pretty soon. So this is the Epiphone Widow. There you go, right there. You can see the headstocks. And you know what? You can get some of these. There's a so Gibson has a shop where they take it's almost, I would call it like a factory second or something like that, and they'll you know, shoot like a tinted clear over top of it, like over a silver burst or something like that. and make all kinds of cool colors. This is what this reminds me of right here. But these are Epiphones, and it kind of got leaked. They're going to make it in 4 colors. I don't think they've initially, I could be wrong. I don't think they've really officially announced it yet, but you can see it has the kind of Gibson headstock, has a Gibson feel to it. But it's an Epiphone. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like here they are putting out the same guitar again. You know, it's just, to me, it's like it's just another Epiphone.
Well, it is. Yeah.
What is so different about it?
There not much other than the color and the binding on it. That's it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think at this point we're entering into a phase where,
I mean, I like the first 2 finishes. I like I guess it's kind of like a tobacco kind of burst a little bit, maybe, and the red.
the red looks pretty cool.
You know.
Yeah. You know what I don't mind? I don't mind the headstock. Isn't it funny? A couple of minutes ago, I was like, I pay no attention to the headstock. And I'm like,
yeah, it's okay. It's not like, it's not the you know, it doesn't like, oh man, that thing is so ugly or whatnot. But don't they have, haven't they used that headstock before? The Epiphones, or?
Well, this is this is kind of them revisiting. Remember, they changed it, and then they have some that, and this is almost Gibson-y, right? Or is this the old Epiphone headstock?
It looks like the old Epiphone headstock.
Yeah.
And it's got the Les Paul custom little design in the middle of the headstock.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
You're exactly right. Yeah, but now they're making some of the Epiphones with the Gibson headstock. So
yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
I don't know. I think we're almost getting to the point where some of these companies they'll just do whatever they can to sell something else.
Well, that's the thing. And I saw on another podcast where a guy was just saying, here's Gibson, like, oh, we got a new thing out. And it's the same thing they've been putting out for 60 years or whatever.
But, and here's, okay, so this is just my opinion. So I think that's fine. Like, I don't like when I open up a Gibson Les Paul standard and I see a PC board in there. I don't like it when I mean, there's something to be said for 4 pots, capacitors, just old-fashioned pullback wiring, none of the plastic import wiring and all that kind of stuff. Just a traditionally one, because that's what we're getting it for, I think. Like, when I get it, that's what I'm looking for. When I buy, that's what I like about my 2005. It's a older or old-ish, not quite vintage yet, but it's wired like they used to wire them. I just did one recently, where it's just 4 pots, pullback wiring, and orange drop capacitors, and nothing more, nothing less. So really, when I buy those, that's what I'm looking for. So make the rest of the guitar better, right? Focus on that. Let's stop focusing on shooting purple clears over top of stuff and headstocks and this and that. Let's just do what people like.
Better playable instrument, a better sounding guitar,
Right.
And that's one of the problems that I have had with Gibson is this, ET photo. Yeah. It's just, make a better playing guitar, Yeah, definitely. I don't know. It's just but they can get away with it because they're Gibson.
Yeah.
They've been getting away for a long time.
Well, and I think, it's weird because I'm all turned around now because this seems like, remember there was an Epiphone, there was the original, then there's the Epiphone that we knew for years, and then they changed it, made a new Epiphone headstock, And then they dabbled back last year with putting a Gibson headstock on it. But this almost looks like the original Epiphone headstock.
You
What do
know,
they call it? The double book?
yeah, I had a Epiphone. It was a, I guess it was like a take on a Black Beauty, actually.
Yeah.
And this was like, wow, this is a long time ago. This was like over 20 years ago. I had the
Uh-huh.
guitar just briefly, and I actually traded it in towards a Gibson
Uh-huh.
SG. Um, it was actually pretty decent guitar,
Mhm.
sounded really good, had a good feel, and I'm trying to remember if it had that headstock that we just saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
May have.
I think the one that I have here that I think it's like a 2003. It's not very good. It's a made in China Epiphone, but I mean, you've seen it. It sits around with no pickups in it most of the time because I just throw pickups in it to test them out. But I think that
Yeah,
one has this headstock.
but Gibson, obviously, when you get a Gibson, it's a very classic, iconic
Mhm.
brand,
Yeah.
obviously, and you know, and you can make that same shape, but just make a better playable guitar. And
Right.
that's why, you know, not to sit there and throw ESP out there, but if you get a Japanese ESP Eclipse, which is their take on the Les Paul, it's in my opinion, it's just a better
Yeah.
playing deck than and then you got Les Pauls like the one you have, which
Yeah.
is they knocked it out of the park with that one,
Yeah.
but it's not like a real fast playing deck,
Right. Right. And
you know,
it's really not meant to.
right. And that's the thing. Like there's a certain place for certain guitars. Like if you
Right.
have, like, for instance, like for me, I like my V's to play the more fast, aggressive stuff,
Right.
and I'll, use a different shape for, say, if it's hard rock or
Yeah.
rock and roll or whatever,
Right.
something different than playing super fast, aggressive music.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I get it. But still, like I said, I just think that they should just pay more attention to make sure before that instrument leaves the factory that it's
Right.
completely apart. And
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I even my rep from ESP, me and him had a discussion about Gibson, and he's like, well, it's people that they make a certain guitar, that only they make,
Yeah.
and that's it's directed toward certain people that want that. Like there's a lot of guys that just like the traditional Fender Strat or the
Mhm.
Les Paul, and I love those guitars too. Like
Right.
we're talking about playing the Fender Strat. Really enjoying it.
Right. Well,
And
and you remember when they had it seems like it doesn't seem to me like anybody buys a Gibson Les Paul for it to be modernized, right? Because they tried robo tuners, it failed. They've tried
yeah,
other things, it failed. They've tried PC boards and the wiring, not awesome. They've tried all kinds of different things. And then when I forget the guy's name that took over the company that moved from Levi's to he was CEO of
oh
Levi's and
yeah, yeah.
moved to Gibson. And that was one of their first things, and that was like, what, 2018, somewhere around there. He
And
said, We're
now
going
it's
back to our roots. We're going back to what we did."
yeah,
Um, so it's like, well, just do that because that's the guys that are buying Gibson Les Pauls, I think that's what they want. They want the Les Paul that they saw when they were a kid, and now they can
but
afford it.
then there's guys like Doug Aldridge,
Yeah.
who he's, basically he's a gold top Les Paul guy. Back in the
Mhm.
'80s, he played all the Jacksons and Super
Yeah.
Strats and all that kind of stuff. But you know, over probably the past 20 something years, he's known for playing a Gibson Les Paul.
Right.
But anybody that's a Doug Aldrich fans knows Doug is just a ridiculous shredder. He can play anything, but he is, he's a pretty aggressive player, and he puts all stainless steel frets. So he'll get those the gold tops, and he will have the stainless steel frets put in this. So I'm curious. Those guitars are he's probably got some super fast necks on those things. You apply maybe a stainless steel fret, maybe that adds a little bit to it.
Have you ever checked out a Heritage Les Paul?
No, and you've been telling me a lot about them.
Good.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'd like to check them out.
I mean, I figured they were built in the old plant. I mean, probably some of the earlier ones were built by the earlier Gibson employees, and I know that for anybody who watches Phil Mcknight's podcast, he bought one, and I think he wanted one with stainless steel frets in it, and had them upgrade one and put stainless steel frets in it. That's a good upgrade.
One of my favorite guitars ever is a Gibson SG. That's one of my favorite guitars on the planet. So if I'm playing an SG, I expect it to play a certain way. I mean, I had played aggressive stuff on the SG. I've recorded with it, but it wasn't really built for that, And I guess I expect it to, when I get an SG, I feel like that.
Right.
Like I said, I'm not going to be, and there's some guys that do play super fast, death metal and stuff on an SG. Like there was a band from Sweden called Deranged, and the guitar player, we did a short tour with them in South America. He's playing a Gibson SG, and he's just ripping on that thing.
Right.
So, but I get it. I get what you're saying. And in the end of the day, it's preference.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's sort of that first guitar that we talked about. You can do all that with passive systems and mid boosts and all that, or you could just get a set of Fishmans. and that stuff's meant to do all that. Man, that was pretty complicated, but
an ebony board is usually, you can play faster. It's got that sleeker neck too. So
yeah. That's and I like ebony. Some people don't like it. Some people don't like it at all, but but I mean, everybody has their own preference, right?
Sure.
So that's all I have. What else do you have on your list?
That's it. I think that's
this week.
That's pretty much it.
I hope we did okay for Necrotian. He's been in here the entire night.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, Joe, as usual.
And everybody else. And
you gotta come on.
I think everybody can probably catch the vibe. Like I think it threw us off when whatever happened to my computer earlier kind of threw me off. But we both had a long ass week too, man.
We definitely.
You've had a long week.
Yeah.
It's been a long week, but one last thing. So we mentioned EVH. EVH is a winner. I like it.
Yeah. That's right. And we got to demo that thing.
Yeah.
I've talked about it before, but I think we should start doing some cool demos and some guitars and some amps, and I'm curious about your, even though we have the same head, you have the 50 watt version of the Stealth.
Right.
I'm curious the tones out of that thing.
Well, and then I kind of experimented with the effects loop too. So I did that. Kramer Headstock was cool back in. Kramer Headstock. Yeah. Definitely.
No, I think the Kramer Headstock, Joe. Yeah.
So I was I saw that, and I mean, me with that stuff. I kind of had to research it first. And I like it. I like the sound, because I told you at first, when I was trying to because some of the stuff I like playing Hendrixy stuff and Stevie Ray Vaughan and stuff too. And I mean the hard stuff you play on it sounds great. But I
Mhm.
wanted to see if you could get it to sound Stevie Ray Vaughan-ish too. And it's
Mhm.
close with the Tube Screamer, but when I threw the, whole pedal chain in front of it, it seemed, I could be totally wrong, man. You know me with that shit. But it seemed like it muddied it. Now I just have so I put the effects on the loop. They
Mhm.
sound more clear because as I described, it goes between the power amp and the preamp. So that makes sense to me.
Mhm.
Where it's not getting all jumbled up in the mix, if you will. And then I just backed it down. I just have, of course, with Smashing Pumpkins, it has a good sound with the big muffle on it because I have
Yeah.
the big big muffle. And I was actually playing that earlier, and it sounds good through that on the blue channel. The red's a little much for it, but it sounded Stevie Ray Vaughan-ish. So
Yeah.
I'm getting there. Some of it is just learning how to dial it in.
Yeah, well, my experience with the green channel, and you said you're using the was a tube screamer with
Yep.
that, right? Through the clean
Uh-huh.
channel, right? I
Yep.
mean, I think you can, because that clean channel on the stealth compared to the other two
Mhm.
previous DPHs, I mean, there's a lot more gain on that.
Yeah.
So maybe if you try bringing the gain up, you might be able to dial in something.
Yeah. You know what? I
Without
didn't think of
using,
that. Without the tube screamer, right?
is that the gain, you can get a lot of gain just on that clean channel.
Yep.
Because, like I said, I had the first version that Eddie put out,
Right.
and that's the amp that me and Bob use live.
Right.
And then there's the EL34, which I'd
Yeah.
like to get. And
Yeah.
then there's the stealth. So the stealth is like all three channels is this more gain,
Yeah.
compared to the other two amps.
Right.
Um, so you can get in still a lot of gain. Like you could play metal,
Yeah. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that clean channel with the gain on it. So
Yeah.
try that out. I'm curious
Right.
how that
Right.
works.
I did it opposite. So I was trying to take a little away from the front of the amp and put a little more on the tube screamer. So maybe I'll just leave the tube screamer off and try to do it with the clean channel and dirty
Yeah,
up.
I would try
But
that.
But you also know me. Like, if there gets to be a point where if there's too many fucking knobs moving,
Yep,
I'm
yep.
done. I'm done.
Same way. I'm the same way. I want something that is simple, that I
Yeah,
can dial in easily. I don't
yeah,
have time for all that insanity,
right,
It's just like a lot of the technology out today with,
right,
like the Kempers and this and that and all that kind of stuff. Like
right.
I can't, I don't know. I'm not that guy to sit there and try to
You
wrap my head
and
around all that,
I
you
think I
know?
never and we've talked about this before, I never really liked it in the first place, but now, when you're sitting here on a bench with a guitar in your hand 8 plus hours a day sometimes, when I sit down and play a guitar, I just wanna play it. I don't wanna sit and dick around with a bunch of knobs.
Yep. Yep.
So, I think that just means I'm getting old. Well, I got
No,
old. I got
no.
old. I'm not getting old. I'm full-fledged.
I've always been that way, the simpler the better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just, like I said, I'm just not interested in that. And
Y
in my opinion, you don't need all that,
yeah.
you know, you know.
Well, and so far, I think it's a winner. I like it a lot, and somebody asked me the other day what I thought of it. I like it a lot. It was interesting. So I told you, we got over. So when you're making a deal with some of these places, with me, I'll say I could be kind of petty sometimes, but you're also trying to get the best price. And when you're trying to pad it with shipping costs, and this was a big box. I'll leave their name out of it. So I had the one I normally deal with, big box, kind of shoot me
Mhm.
a price that wasn't so good. So then I had the other one that everybody frowns on. They gave me a good price because last week was President's Day weekend. We talked about that, but they wouldn't do
Mhm.
shipping. Everybody else will.
Mm.
So we got, and I just said, like, I will pull the trigger. I will buy this. Like, it's almost $2,000. It's like throw in the shipping. It was $60 or something like that. So the
Mhm.
place where what did American Music Supplies where I got it, they did
Mm.
free FedEx. So they did it and they matched the price for everybody else. So the odd
Yeah.
part is where I was going with this whole long thing was it was today. I got an email from that place that, and we're going around and around. And I just said, stop screwing around with me. I didn't say it like that, but let's stop playing the game. Just pay for the shipping and I'll buy it. Like I'm done. I'll swipe my card. I'm done. And they wouldn't do
Mhm.
it. So today they hit me up. Hey, you still thinking about buying that amp? I said, sorry, I did it. Yeah, they checked in with me today. Did
Yeah, yeah,
extra work that they didn't have to do.
yeah.
Oddly enough, same place. Like there's sometimes that I have to order. There's a guitar behind me. I had to order a set of pickups for it today. Sometimes it's just easier to call those places. We talked about that before. They have people that are dedicated to it. So I didn't call the one that I normally go to. I called the one that I couldn't get the amp deal with last week. Bam! You know, gave me the pickups, shipped them for free. I didn't even ask. And I'm like, I don't get it. Just
Yeah.
odd. I know that
Yeah.
was a long story for nothing, but it's just odd the way, like, everything things aren't moving at a breakneck pace right now, like wave shipping. Everybody at some certain point, when I make an order of supplies, if I order over a certain dollar amount, like $500, free shipping, waive it. Um, Pretty insignificant, but whatever.
Mhm.
That's all I have. That's my rant of the week.
Hey, well, if they want your business, then,
Yeah, I
you know,
just thought, and I wouldn't even have said anything if he hadn't emailed me today and was like, "Hey, you still thinking about it?" I was like, "Yeah, I was thinking about it earlier while I was playing it."
yeah.
I thought about it when I flipped the on-off switch.
It's like, I got what I want. So,
Yeah, and he's very nice. I mean, that's the bad thing about it. He's a nice guy. I mean, sometimes you just can't make a deal, I guess is
yeah,
the but nowadays, there are enough people out there looking to earn your business. You don't have to settle.
yeah,
So,
that's for sure. Yep,
you can always
that is
shop
true.
around. But that's all I have. If nobody
Yeah,
else has anything, we'll see you again next week.
yep,
I think we're kinda undecided. Sometimes we've said this before, sometimes we like to just sit in here and talk about guitar news from the past week and things that have come up during the week. Um, we'll probably have some more guests on as we move forward. Sometimes we just like doing this.
yep, yeah, yeah,
So, yeah.
yep,
So, everybody click the I point to wherever it is on your screen because I have my screen flipped around reverse.
yeah.
So wherever the subscribe button is, click it, subscribe, hit a like, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys next week.